Alright, it's been a minute since we did a last all patched up episode, but this is a big one. We've had changes to some notable titles, including one that was a right state when it came out. If you enjoy this type of content, let me know down below. Remember, we do give away a free Switch game each and every week. That happens in our sales video, but this series is primarily designed to help you if you're thinking about buying one of the games. I do think it's important to revisit games where possible, just for that reason. So what's been all patched up? Well, let's find out. We've got Tales of the Shire, a Lord of the Rings game, which is a Nintendo Switch 1 title, and although we didn't cover it at launch, I was playing it and I was quite astonished by how bad it was. Now I need to caveat that it's not necessarily the gameplay, although that's quite basic. It does improve a lot actually as you go on. Visually, it's not great. You could walk through characters. It was quite easy to clip against environments. It just didn't look great. So let's have a try now and see how it looks. What we have now is version 1.0.4 and Private Division promise some improvements. So as you can see, it's still suffering heavily from aliasing. There isn't really a surface that doesn't look jaggy and quite bad. It uses an interesting technique of having the level of detail dynamically grow, so you could see things like flowers almost blooming as you walk around. That was clearly an intentional choice. Whether or not it looks good, I'm not entirely sure. The thing the team really wanted to improve though was the stability. It used to crash very often, and sometimes guests would get stuck in your house after you've had a meal with them. That apparently has been fixed. You also used to be able to walk through all of the horses, so you could just stand in them. I mean, they've obviously put a hitbox on the body, but you can still glitch through their heads. It's not perfect, is it? Let's be real. There's no sugarcoating it really. It's a bit of a mess still. The pigs have half a hitbox. Clearly the heads were too much trouble, but it appears that some of the horses still do not have hitboxes. It doesn't feel like they've really done a huge amount visually, if I'm honest. There's no sugarcoating, as I say. It looks rough. Performance still isn't great, even if you're playing it on the Switch 2, but we have some bug fixes. Yeah, overall it's like a D+, isn't it? Wild Hearts S is an interesting one because they essentially created a new version, didn't they, for Switch 2, and this one had an uncapped frame rate. It could reach 60, but it also fluctuated quite a lot. The main issue was that they didn't use DLSS, and they opted to go for one of their own proprietary upscaling techniques. Now, in their defense, I actually read an interview from Famitsu where they essentially said they were working for a long time just based on some vague specs that they'd received, but yeah, they didn't have the stuff they needed to actually test if what they were doing was going to work well. And then when it released, the level of detail scaling was crazy, and it would also drop that resolution so heavily that it looked really quite strange at times, with the unusual cross-hatching, the clear artifacts of the anti-aliasing technique. But still, I mean, it was alright. Now with the latest version, which is version 1.0.5, what has actually changed? Well, perhaps visual quality is ever so slightly better, but having said that, we do still have a dynamic resolution. Clearly, we also have some upscaling. I say some, it's quite a lot. Looking in the background, you can see over sharpening of a lot of the environments. In motion, it seems okay, but it's that uncapped frame rate that really is the real issue here, because in certain places, the drops are so big that, yeah, it just doesn't look great. In the town as well, when you rotate the camera, the frame rate drops right down. So a few issues. It's an okay version still, as I say. It runs well enough, but hopefully this is one of the teams that since launch is getting a little bit more support from Nintendo, so perhaps we'll see more and more patches just to bring it up. It's actually a really fun game. I was surprised more people didn't get on board with it. Very much Monster Hunter. So yeah, going in the right direction. Next up, we've got Colt Canyon. Now this has been on the channel so many times over the years where we've been trying to tell you how damn good it is. Glen picked up the physical for like a couple of quid years ago, and we didn't play it for ages, and then we had a go on gaming night, and man, it's one of the best co-op games. It's so good. You essentially control this little kind of sprite cowboy, and you got to make your way through stages, gradually fighting bosses and people to get to the final boss who has kidnapped one of your partners. Now I wouldn't say performance was at all bad at launch, it wasn't really. It was 60 FPS or thereabouts, ran pretty well on Switch 1 or Switch 2, but the reason it's in this video is because randomly the other day it had a massive update. So it's version 1.3.11 now, and what they've done is they've taken essentially like a year or more worth of updates from Steam and they've brought them across. We were playing and we were suddenly like, hang on, that's a new character, that's a new item, that's a new area. So if you've got this game, the update adds in so much. You're riding around on your horses, they're like poison areas as well that you have to avoid, but there's also a new pickup that you can get to help with that. Some of the shooting mechanics feel slightly better, like they've refined and tweaked it, but we also noticed that some areas are much busier than they were before. You just get absolutely mobbed. Like sometimes when you move on to the next area you get ambushed, and those ambushes now are just brutal. The best part as well is there are a couple of new weapon additions and you get more drops in general. So yeah, really good game actually. I highly recommend it. It's usually on sale for like £1 or something, but that's Colt Canyon. Nice little cheeky upgrade that no one was expecting. Now Discounty was a game I absolutely loved. Like really enjoy it. I think it's just such a nice take on the cozy game genre. You know, you run your own little shop, you have Mrs. Groggins or whatever her name is, Robinson, come in every day, she buys the same stuff. There are a load of different achievements to try and get. The thing is, I did my review and then they released a day one patch which killed performance on Switch 2, which was it was so, stuff like that is so bad because you just go to the comment section and people calling you a liar or a shill. Like, it's always the way. The comments on videos sometimes are just, it's a bad place to be. It's funny, isn't it? Like, it's like, I tell you what it's like. Imagine you went for your day, like your job, whatever it is you do in your day. And then at the end of the day, there were just like a few customers just waiting there to either say like, yeah, that's all right. Or to say, no, you did this wrong, you did this wrong. And it's like, my goodness, just chill out. But in this case, yeah, they've released a patch now, which is version 1.0.5, which fixes it. So not only does it fix it, bring it back to 60 frames per second on Switch 2, and it was funny because I was talking to them behind the scenes and they were like, oh, this wasn't meant to happen. You know, the porting team have done something to fix something and broken something else. So there was panic behind the scenes, but it has fixed the problem now. We have 60 FPS again. One of the issues I had as well was when I was selling items in the shop with the rotation of the products for the scanner. That was a little bit wonky. So we'll take a look at that as well to see if that's improved. And there were a couple of other bugs as well. There were things like when you make your order on the computer, sometimes the guy wouldn't come back. But that was actually by design. The developers said in a tweet that that was intentional, because obviously if you message a delivery person in the middle of the night, or you message them once and then twice, and they're only going to come once a day. So yeah, I actually didn't mind that at all, to be honest. One thing that hasn't changed yet is you can't open your shop early, and it doesn't look like you can stay open later. I think that's something that most people want, because there was that bug where you couldn't guarantee that all your customers would be served no matter what you did. Like the shop would just automatically shut just as someone walked through the door, and that was a bit of a pain. So yeah, that's pretty much the same as it was before. They have made it so that you can skip through the end of the shopping day overview. You can actually skip through it now. It was a right pain before, it took ages. So I believe you can now press plus and skip that. So some improvements. I think there's still a bit of work to be done just to tighten everything up, but honestly it wasn't a badly performing game. So nice to see a couple of updates already since it's come out. Next up, we've got Daemon X Titanic Scion, which sparked a bit of debate when it came out, because you had everyone saying that the Switch 2 was really bad performance, there's no way it can improve, this is it now. And then we had obviously Star Wars Outlaws come out, that's by far and away the best port that we've seen on Switch 2, and disproves all of that. But Daemon X Machina Titanic Scion had some real performance issues. It would drop and stutter. The visual quality as well was not really great. Not what you'd be going for, that's for sure. But we've got one patch that's already come out, and we've also got some information about a future patch, and with those two combined, it sounds like it's going to be a much nicer experience. So with patch 1.0.3, has the performance at least been fixed? Let's have a look. Well, the answer to that question is a very quick no. It really hasn't. If anything, it feels worse than I remember. It's sad. I've reloaded an old save, the one where I really saw it the most, and yeah, it's not good at all. Visual quality looks pretty much the same, I think. I don't see any major changes there. But I guess that's a good time to discuss a recent tweet because they have acknowledged the issues. The message from them is basically, we've been paying close attention to the feedback, and then their producer details what's going to change in the game. The first half is things like bug fixes. We don't want to go over those, you know, little minor bugs, things that don't really matter. The second half is a little more pertinent for Switch. They're adding in gyro controls for Nintendo Switch 2 and PS5, but that would make a big difference because there are a lot of weapons like the bow and arrow. They're essentially completely redundant on Switch because you can't, if you're using joycons at least, aim them at all with that frame rate. They're changing things like camera acceleration, sensitivities, and it says we're improving loading times during online play. The fact that they haven't mentioned performance is a little concerning, I'm not gonna lie. And the top comment literally says as much. Someone's like, this is great, thanks very much, but you haven't mentioned optimization for Switch 2. And yeah, I just wouldn't buy this on Switch 2, to be honest, like this. If I had any other option, I'd be going that way, at least until they acknowledge performance and fix it. So yeah, that one's a bit of a downer, but at least there's some hope for patches in the future. And that is it for this episode. I've already got a couple of games that I've been playing through the patches of. Things like Little Kitty Big City for the next episode. That's had a massive update, adding in new areas, costumes. It's awesome. Star Wars Outlaws has actually had a patch as well. So I've just been detailing all the changes there, making notes of those. Smaller indies like Caravan Sandwich had an update recently. Split Fictions had a load of updates. And of course, High on Life, which has had a whole Switch 2 version added completely free of charge. I'll obviously be covering that in the next episode. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this type of content. Thank you to our Patreons, our members, and all of you. I hope you have a lovely week. For all things Switch, all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers, guys. See ya!